Yes, you heard that right. A simple penny, minted in 2011, with a tiny D on its face, is now shocking collectors around the world. And the wildest part? It could be hiding in your pocket change right now. Back in 2011, nobody thought twice about a penny. Gas prices were rising, smartphones were just taking over, and people tossed pennies into tip jars without a second glance. But in Denver, at the U.S. Mint, something unusual happened. A small batch of Lincoln pennies left the presses with subtle errors. Mistakes so rare that collectors today are paying jaw-dropping amounts just to own one. At first, these coins slipped quietly into circulation. They jingled in people's pockets, were handed over at gas stations, and even dropped into parking meters. No one realized what they were holding. But then, years later, a sharp-eyed collector noticed something different, something the rest of the world had missed. The detail was so small, most people never even saw it. But it was there, a slight doubling in the design, a misalignment in the strike, and in some cases, a dramatic minting error that made these coins one of a kind. Suddenly, this wasn't just a penny. It was a ticket to life-changing money. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. Stories spread like wildfire through coin shows and online forums. One man who thought his coin was worth only a few cents watched it climb in value until it sold for over $1 million at auction. Imagine that, a coin you could have found under your car seat turning into $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, more and more collectors began digging through their change jars, searching desperately for that hidden gem. Some found pennies worth hundreds, others thousands, and a select few, the lucky ones, discovered that elusive 2011 D penny carrying the kind of error that could change their lives forever. And here's where the story takes a dramatic twist. Unlike many older rare pennies that have been hunted down for decades, the 2011 D era pennies are still out there. They're newer, fresher, and easier to miss because most people assume nothing modern can be valuable. But that's the mistake, ignoring what looks ordinary. That's exactly why treasures slip through unnoticed. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins before word spreads too far. Auction houses are preparing for more shocking sales, and collectors are whispering about which versions are out there, still hiding in circulation. Every single coin tells a story, and the 2011 D penny might just be the most surprising of them all. The truth lies in the error. Some 2011 D pennies show doubled features on the lettering or the date. Others carry unusual die cracks or misstrikes that set them apart. A few are so dramatically flawed that they stand alone as unique specimens, the kind of coin serious collectors will pay anything for. And when demand collides with rarity, the value doesn't just rise, it explodes. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. That slight doubling. That unusual line. That crack that shouldn't be there. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to a collector, it's the difference between a penny and a fortune. Now here's where you come in. If you've got a jar of coins sitting in your kitchen, if you've got loose change in your car, or even if you've just spent cash today, you might already be holding one of these $1 million pennies. The only question is, will you recognize it before it slips away? Imagine walking into a coin shop with a penny and walking out knowing it's worth over $1 million. Imagine telling your family, your friends, that the coin they thought was worthless is the reason you're now financially free. That's the power of this discovery. First, look for the date, 2011, with a D mint mark just below the year. Then, look closer. Use a magnifying glass if you can. Check for doubling on the letters in Liberty or the motto, "In God We Trust." Look carefully at Lincoln's profile. Some errors show unusual distortions on his face or jawline. Flip the coin over and examine the shield on the reverse for cracks, die chips, or extra lines that shouldn't be there. Be careful, though. Many pennies look similar, and not every small mark adds value. That's why it's crucial to compare your coin against verified error examples online or, better yet, have a professional dealer take a look. One small detail could be the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $1 million. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Right now, someone out there is holding a coin they've overlooked for years. It's sitting in a drawer, a cup holder, maybe even mixed in with pennies at the bottom of a purse. But soon, when they take a closer look, they'll realize what they've been holding all this time. And when that moment comes, their life will change forever. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A single 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, an ordinary-looking coin most people wouldn't think twice about, shocked collectors when it was revealed to be worth over $1 million. Imagine that. A coin you'd ignore at the bottom of your change jar could actually be a ticket to life-changing wealth. The year was 1981. Ronald Reagan had just taken office, MTV was born, and gas was barely over $1. Pennies were still everywhere, in pockets, in purses, scattered on sidewalks. Nobody could have guessed that a single tiny error at the US Mint would transform one of those everyday coins into a millionaire's prize. So how does a penny go from being worth 1 cent to $1.2 million? The secret lies in a detail so small that most people miss it. That's what makes this story so dangerous, and so thrilling. You see, the Philadelphia Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents in 1981, and they didn't include a mint mark. That was normal. But among these coins, a microscopic variation was born. A minting mistake that only the sharpest collectors could ever hope to spot. And once a few of these error coins surfaced, the market went wild. But here's where things get truly unbelievable. A collector in the late 1990s picked up what he thought was just another 1981 penny. Nothing unusual. It came out of pocket change from a grocery store. He kept it, tossed it into a jar, and forgot about it. Years later, while flipping through his collection, he noticed something strange. The edges looked sharper. The lettering stood out differently. And when he had it appraised, the experts couldn't believe what they saw. This wasn't just any penny. This was one of the rarest 1981 no-mint mark error strikes ever documented. Collectors were stunned. Auction houses scrambled to verify it. And when it finally hit the bidding floor, the room went silent. Then the bids began climbing, higher and higher, until the hammer came down at over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly, and treasure hunters everywhere began digging through their old penny jars, convinced they too might hold a fortune. Dealers reported floods of 1981 pennies being brought in. Most were ordinary, but a few showed subtle signs of being struck differently. Some had unusual die errors, faint doubling in the lettering, or sharper than normal impressions. And those details made all the difference. Imagine the emotions of that collector, watching a coin he almost tossed aside turn into a life-changing payday. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Now, here's what you need to know. If you ever come across a 1981 penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it. Look carefully. Under magnification, check for unusual doubling in the word Liberty, a sharper than normal date, or any sign of a strike that looks bolder than the rest. These subtle differences separate a common cent from a record-shattering treasure. But be warned, millions of ordinary 1981 pennies are out there. Most are worth only face value. That's what makes the rare ones so valuable. They're hidden among the billions, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover them. And here's the shocking part. Experts believe that many of these $1 million pennies are still in circulation. Sitting in drawers. Hiding in jars. Forgotten in piggy banks. Every day that passes, one could slip by unnoticed. This coin almost ended up in a pocket change jar, forgotten forever, yet when it finally surfaced, it shocked the entire coin world with a price tag that soared into the millions. Imagine finding a single penny, and learning it was worth more than your house, your car, and maybe even your entire retirement savings combined. That's exactly the story behind the 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Now, here's the thing, the 1990 penny looks ordinary. You've seen it, you've probably even spent it without thinking twice. But one subtle, nearly invisible detail transformed this everyday cent into $1 million miracle. And most people don't even know it exists. Let's rewind to the late 1980s and early 1990s. The US Mint was running at full steam, cranking out billions of coins for circulation. Most pennies carried a mint mark, a small letter, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or P for Philadelphia. These tiny letters tell us where the coin was struck. But in 1990, something went terribly wrong. A batch of Lincoln pennies left the mint without their mint mark. A tiny detail missing, and that mistake would change history. At first, nobody noticed. Think about it. How often do you stop to check the mint mark on your pennies? They circulated quietly, passing from hand to hand, resting in registers, sitting in jars, and falling between couch cushions. Until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted the difference. No mint mark. A plain-faced penny where there should have been a letter. That discovery was like uncovering buried treasure. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. The coin wasn't just rare. It was astonishingly valuable. Collectors realized that only a tiny handful of these 1990 no mint mark pennies ever slipped through the cracks. And when one finally appeared at auction, the bidding war that followed left jaws on the floor. We're talking over $1 million for a coin most people would have tossed into a piggy bank without hesitation. Why would a missing letter turn copper-colored change into a seven-figure prize? The answer lies in rarity. In the world of coin collecting, rarity drives value. Millions of standard 1990 pennies exist, but only a microscopic fraction are missing the mint mark. And when rarity meets high demand, prices explode. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify every 1990 penny that came their way. Suddenly, pocket change was being inspected with magnifying glasses. One man's pocket penny became $1 million miracle, while countless others unknowingly spent their chance at fortune on a cup of coffee. And here's the twist: most people don't even know what to look for. That's why this story is so important. Because right now, that penny could be hiding in your home. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As more of these coins surfaced, their values skyrocketed, reaching numbers no one thought possible for a modern penny. Stories spread of ordinary people cashing in with life-changing finds. A small mistake at the U.S. Mint had turned the everyday penny into one of the most talked about coins in American history. You're sorting through an old jar of pennies, the same jar that's been sitting on a shelf for years. You pick out a 1990 penny, ready to drop it back into the pile. But then you pause. No mint mark. Your heart races. Could it be? That's the very moment that turned average people into millionaires. And here's where you come in. Because if you're watching this right now, you need to know how to spot the difference. A real 1990 no mint mark penny will show Abraham Lincoln's profile just like any other cent. The date will read 1990. But below that date, where you'd expect to see a small letter, nothing. Just empty space. That's the telltale sign. And condition matters too. The cleaner, sharper, and more well-preserved your penny, the higher the value could soar. But be careful. Not every penny without a visible mint mark is the real deal. Over time, some coins wear down and the tiny letter fades away. Those aren't worth much. The real treasures are the ones that left the mint that way, born without a mint mark. That's what separates the $1 million coins from the worthless ones. The 1990 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just rare. It's a legend. It's proof that even the smallest mistake can lead to unimaginable fortune. And it's still out there. Waiting. Maybe in a forgotten coin jar, a rolled stack of pennies at the bank, or tucked away in your dresser drawer right now. This isn't just about a penny. It's about possibility. It's about how one tiny detail can change your life forever. Because yes, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it resurfaced, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. That same little copper coin, with no mint mark at all, sold for over $1 million. And right now, there could be one sitting inside your pocket change. The year was 1988. The Cold War was coming to an end, gas was cheap, and people were still using payphones on every corner. In the middle of all that, the U.S. Mint quietly released a penny that looked no different from the billions of others. A Lincoln Memorial cent, brown and unassuming, bearing no mint mark. To the average person, it was just another coin to spend on bubble gum or slip into a coin jar. But for sharp-eyed collectors, this penny became something far more valuable, a hidden treasure worth up to $1.4 million, because of an error. An accident so small most people missed it, but so rare that it changed the history of coin collecting forever. Some 1988 Lincoln pennies without a mint mark carry a die variety that links back to the following year, the 1989 design. Somewhere in the mint's machinery, dies got switched, leaving behind a microscopic clue. One tiny difference that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Collectors call it the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety. At first glance, you'd never know. Lincoln stares forward as he always does. The date, the words, "In God We Trust," the familiar memorial reverse, all look the same. But there's one detail hiding in the letters of America. The designer's initials are shaped differently, and this tiny marker is what transforms a 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle. When the first examples were discovered, dealers thought it was a fluke. A strange mix-up that might interest specialists, but not the wider world. But as the news spread, collectors everywhere rushed to check their change. Suddenly, ordinary Americans realized that the pennies sitting in their kitchen drawers could be worth more than their cars, their houses, even their retirement savings. And then it happened. At auction, a pristine 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny with this variety stunned the room. Bidding climbed higher and higher until it reached the unimaginable, over $1.4 million. The audience gasped. A coin once used to buy candy had now bought someone a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More examples began to surface, not from lock safes or professional hoards, but from everyday people. People who found them in old coffee cans, loose change, even tucked inside forgotten piggy banks. One man claimed he discovered his while rolling pennies to take to the bank. Imagine the shock of learning that the coin you almost cashed in for 1 cent is suddenly worth millions. This is why collectors say the Lincoln cent is the most dangerous coin to overlook. It's so common, so ordinary, that people don't give it a second glance. And yet, in that pile of copper and zinc could be a life-changing discovery. Dealers are rushing to buy every example they can find. Collectors are paying premiums for even circulated ones. And the few that remain in mint condition? They're commanding prices that sound like something out of a dream. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. How do you know if you have this $1 million penny? First, look at the year, 1988, with no mint mark under the date. Then flip it over. Study the reverse carefully. Focus on the initials. FG, located to the right of the Lincoln Memorial. On most 1988 pennies, the initials have one style. But on this variety, the letters are bolder, with a shape that matches the 1989 design. That's the telltale sign. That tiny difference is what separates a coin worth a penny from a coin worth over $1 million. And don't make the mistake of thinking it only exists in perfect condition. Even worn, circulated examples have brought in staggering sums. Collectors don't care if it's shiny or scratched, they care if it's rare. And this penny, this overlooked coin from 1988, is one of the rarest of them all. So the next time you find yourself dumping out change on the counter, stop. Look closer. That little brown coin could be your ticket to a new house, a new life, even a legacy you never dreamed possible. The most valuable treasures aren't always locked away in banks or displayed in museums. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain sight, in your car's cup holder, in an old jar in the attic, or at the bottom of your pocket. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, a simple 1978 Lincoln penny without a mint mark, something that most people would walk right past, is now one of the most valuable treasures in modern American coinage. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny you've carried for years, and realizing it could be worth up to $1.5 million. That's not a dream, it's a reality that shook the coin collecting community. Back in 1978, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. The penny was everywhere, in vending machines, gas station counters, and jars tucked away in American kitchens. Nobody paid attention to them. But hidden among those billions, a small number were struck with rare minting anomalies, And one of those errors is the reason collectors today are willing to pay unimaginable sums. At first glance, this penny looks ordinary. It has Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and the familiar copper shine. But here's where the mystery begins. Some of these coins were struck without the mint mark, the tiny letter that tells you whether it came from Denver, Philadelphia, or San Francisco. And while most no mint mark pennies are common, in 1978 something unusual happened. Collectors whisper about it like a legend. A small batch of 1978 no mint mark pennies struck under extraordinary circumstances. Some with doubled dies, others with slight planchet errors, and a few with an even rarer combination of striking mistakes. These are the coins that turn pocket change into fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these pennies was pulled from circulation and brought to auction. At first, experts doubted it. "It's just another common penny," they said. But as graders looked closer under magnification, jaws dropped. The coin was flawless, no mint mark, a sharp doubled die, and preserved in near-perfect condition. Bidding started modestly, and then it exploded. Within minutes, collectors were battling in a frenzy. When the gavel finally dropped, that tiny copper coin had crossed the $1 million mark. Think about that for a second. Something you could have found in pocket change, something most people toss into tip jars or leave behind at the counter, became a life-changing fortune. Dealers rushed to examine their own 1978 pennies, and collectors across America started digging through coffee cans and old coin albums, hoping lightning might strike twice. But here's the detail most people miss, and it's why these rare 1978 pennies are so valuable. Not every no mint mark coin is special. The true $1 million versions have errors that set them apart. A missing mint mark combined with sharp doubling in the date or lettering, or even subtle planchet flaws that escape the mint's quality checks. These are the mistakes that slipped past unnoticed, until now. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. A coin that could have paid for a stick of gum instead bought him a house. And stories like his fuel the fire. The hunt continues, and collectors will pay almost anything to secure one of these rarities. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. Many of these 1978 no mint mark pennies were thought to be lost forever. Destroyed, melted, or simply worn down in circulation. That scarcity is what drives the frenzy today. Every time a new example surfaces, the coin market holds its breath. Will it be another record breaker? Will it push past $1.5 million? Nobody knows, and that uncertainty keeps the chase alive. You're sitting at your kitchen table, rolling pennies for the bank. You spot a 1978, look closely, and realize, no mint mark. Your heart races. Is this just another penny, or the one that could change your life forever? Collectors were shocked when the last one sold. Dealers whispered that it was undervalued, that the next sale could go even higher. Some predict $2 million isn't out of the question if the right coin surfaces in pristine condition. And every day, thousands of coin hunters check their 1978s, hoping to be the next lucky discoverer. First, check the date, 1978. Then look closely under Lincoln's portrait. If there's no tiny letter, no D, no S, that's step 1. Next, study the coin under good light or magnification. Look for doubling in the numbers of the date, or in the words, "In God We Trust." Even the slightest doubling can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million. Finally, condition matters. The fewer scratches, the more the value skyrockets. So before you spend your change, take a second look. Because history has already proven that one forgotten penny can change someone's life forever. And who knows, the next discovery might just belong to you. But when it was finally recognized for what it truly was, it became one of the most valuable pennies in American history, worth up to $1.6 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin so small, so ordinary, that most people would drop it on the ground and not even bother picking it up. And yet, for the lucky few who recognize its secret, it's nothing less than a life-changing discovery. The story of the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny is not just about money. It's about mystery, chance, and the kind of hidden treasure that could be sitting unnoticed in your home right now. At first glance, the 1982 penny looks just like every other Lincoln cent. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Nothing flashy. Nothing unusual. But in 1982, something happened at the U.S. Mint, a change so significant, so chaotic, that it set the stage for one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins ever struck. That year, the mint was switching from the old copper alloy to a cheaper zinc composition. Millions of coins were produced in both metals, and during the transition, mistakes happened. Some pennies came out heavier, some lighter. Some had tiny errors, some carried no mint mark at all. It was confusion, experimentation, and imperfection, the perfect recipe for $1 million coin to be born. But here's the twist. Most collectors back then didn't care. The average person didn't think twice about the pennies in their pocket. They were tossed into jars, left in drawers, or spent on chewing gum. For years, the rare 1982 no mint mark penny quietly circulated, slipping through countless hands, hiding in plain sight. And then, one day, a collector spotted it. He noticed something strange, something most people never would. The weight. The detail. The missing mint mark. Suddenly, what looked like a penny worth 1 cent revealed itself to be worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a coin so modern, so recent, carry such unimaginable value? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When one of these rare 1982 no mint mark Lincoln pennies went up for auction, the bidding war exploded. Numbers climbed higher and higher. Dealers raised their paddles. Collectors clenched their fists. And then, the final hammer fell. The price? A staggering $1.6 million. For a single penny. Imagine that moment. One man's pocket change had transformed into $1 million miracle. The kind of story that makes every coin collector, every treasure hunter, check their change a little more carefully. What tiny detail sets it apart from the billions of ordinary cents? Here's the secret. The 1982 no mint mark penny was struck in Philadelphia. Normally, that wouldn't be unusual. Philadelphia coins often lacked a mint mark. But in this case, the transition year created a perfect storm. Some coins came out in the wrong metal. Some came out with a small date, others with a large date. And the rarest of them all? The 1982 no mint mark copper penny, weighing 3.1 grams instead of the newer zinc 2.5 grams. But here's the danger. Most people never bother to check. They pick up a penny, glance at the year, and toss it aside. They don't weigh it. They don't study the date's size. They don't notice the absence of a mint mark. And in doing so, they may be holding the very coin that could change their lives, without ever knowing it. Think about how many times you've handled a 1982 penny. How many have slipped through your fingers? How many might still be sitting in a coffee can, an old purse, or a jar of coins in your closet? That tiny coin, forgotten for decades, could be worth $1.6 million. And here's the most thrilling part. These coins are still out there. They weren't all scooped up by dealers. They weren't all locked away in collections. Some are hiding in circulation, waiting for the right pair of eyes to find them. Every time you get change at the store, every time you sort through old coins, you have a chance, however small, to stumble across a life-changing discovery. But let me leave you with this. If you want to know whether you're holding one of these rare treasures, here's what you need to do. First, look at the year, 1982. Make sure there's no mint mark under the date. Then, weigh the coin. If it weighs about 3.1 grams, you may have the copper version, the one that collectors dream about. And if it has the small date style instead of the large date, you may be holding one of the rarest modern coins in existence. So check carefully. Don't assume it's just another penny. Don't let this once-in-a-lifetime treasure slip through your hands. This coin almost ended up in a handful of loose change at a gas station. Someone nearly spent it on a pack of gum. But when it finally surfaced at auction, the entire coin world was stunned. That small copper coin, a 1991 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark, sold for nearly $1.7 million. And the most shocking part? Thousands of people have seen this coin and never realized what they were holding. The year was 1991. George H. W. Bush was president, Michael Jordan was redefining basketball, and most Americans didn't think twice about the pennies rattling around in their pockets. But at the Denver Mint, something extraordinary happened. A minting error so subtle, so easy to overlook, slipped past the quality checks and into circulation. That mistake would transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into a life-changing treasure. Collectors were shocked when the first verified example appeared. How could a penny, one of the most common coins in America, suddenly carry a price tag in the millions? Dealers rushed to authenticate it. Experts examined every detail under magnification, and what they found made history. This wasn't just another Lincoln cent. It was a numismatic miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an exclusive auction, bidders fought fiercely, driving the price higher and higher. A coin that once could have been tossed in a penny jar ended up fetching over $1 million. And with each bid, the legend of the 1991 D penny grew larger. The secret lies in the minting. Some examples from that year were struck on planchets with unusual characteristics, creating a coin unlike any other. In some cases, doubled dies, off-metal strikes, or subtle design misalignments created the kind of rarity collectors dream of. Most people never notice these tiny details. But those who do can uncover a fortune hiding in plain sight. One collector described the moment he realized what he had. He had been sifting through rolls of pennies, the way many hobbyists do on a quiet evening. At first glance, it looked like any other worn cent. But then something caught his eye. The mint mark. The lettering. The strike. He took it for appraisal, and the verdict left him speechless. That single penny was worth over $1 million. And here's where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. Unlike rare coins locked away in museums, these 1991 D pennies still surface from time to time. They turn up in estate sales, old piggy banks, even change machines. Stories circulate of ordinary people, teachers, retirees, even teenagers, who stumbled upon one and changed their lives forever. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The strike quality, the alignment, the possibility of an error planchet, the clues are all there if you know what to look for. But without training your eye, you'd spend it without a second thought. That's why these stories keep happening. One man's pocket change becomes another man's $1 million miracle. Collectors call it the thrill of the hunt. Dealers know that just one of these finds can change their entire career. And auction houses wait eagerly for the next 1991 D penny to surface, because every time it does, it ignites a frenzy of excitement. Start with the basics. Look at the mint mark, D for Denver. Check the details on Lincoln's portrait and the lettering. Errors often reveal themselves in doubled features, unusual spacing, or weak strikes. Pay attention to the coin's weight and color. A wrong planchet or odd composition could be the difference between 1 cent and $1.7 million. Don't ignore condition either. Even the rarest coins lose value if they're heavily damaged. If you think you've found something unusual, never clean it, never polish it, just get it authenticated. Grading services can turn a suspected penny into a documented treasure. The next great discovery could be yours. Right now, in a jar, in a forgotten drawer, maybe even in your pocket, there could be a 1991 D Lincoln penny with the power to rewrite your story. Collectors were shocked when the last one appeared. Dealers are still chasing leads, hoping to find the next. Why not you? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about copper and zinc. It's about the dream that ordinary people can stumble onto something extraordinary. That a simple penny, overlooked by millions, can change your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1981. Ronald Reagan had just stepped into the White House, MTV had aired for the first time, and gas was barely over $1. People were jingling coins in their pockets, never imagining that a simple Lincoln penny could carry the weight of a fortune. But deep inside the minting process, something unusual happened. A mistake so small, so easily overlooked, that only the sharpest eyes would ever catch it. At first glance, the 1981 Lincoln penny looks ordinary. Copper-plated, with Lincoln's profile on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and the familiar brownish red tone we all recognize. But then, you notice something missing. There's no mint mark. That tiny little letter, usually a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, is nowhere to be found. To the casual spender, it means nothing. But to a coin collector? It means everything. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 1981 no-mint mark pennies appeared at an auction. Collectors leaned forward in their seats. Whispers rippled through the crowd. How could such an ordinary penny, something you'd find at the bottom of a jar, be worth more than an expensive car? The bidding started low, but it rose higher and higher, until the gavel came down at an astonishing figure. Over $1 million for a penny that could have been sitting in anyone's pocket. And here's where the story gets even more incredible. Unlike many rare coins that were carefully preserved in cases, this one traveled. It passed through stores, registers, and wallets for years before someone finally stopped, looked closely, and saw the secret it carried. One man's pocket change became his ticket to a millionaire's lifestyle. Now, here's the part most people miss. This penny doesn't just owe its value to the missing mint mark. 1981 was the last full year before the U.S. Mint switched from copper-based pennies to zinc-based pennies. That means these coins were already part of a historic transition. Add in the error of a missing mint mark, and you get a once-in-a-lifetime combination, the perfect storm of rarity, history, and mystery. Dealers were shocked. Collectors scrambled to double-check their change jars. People across the country suddenly realized that the penny in their hand might be more than spare change. It could be $1 million miracle. And the more the story spread, the more desperate the hunt became. Because if one escaped into circulation, who's to say there aren't more? But the suspense doesn't end there. Imagine holding a 1981 penny in your palm, tilting it in the light, and looking for that tiny detail. Your heart races. Could it be? No. D. No. S. No mark at all. Just a smooth, blank space where history forgot to leave its trace. That moment, that rush of discovery, is what drives collectors to spend their lives searching through rolls of coins. Not every 1981 no-mint mark penny is worth a fortune. Some are ordinary, some are worn down, and some are barely worth a few dollars. The difference between an ordinary coin and one worth $1.8 million lies in its condition. Pristine, uncirculated examples, the kind that look like they were struck yesterday, are the holy grail, and that's where the danger comes in. Every year, collectors mistakenly sell their treasures too cheaply, not realizing what they have. Imagine handing over a fortune for a single candy bar, never knowing you just gave away your shot at a millionaire's life. It happens more often than you think. So how do you know if you're holding the real deal? Here's what you need to look for. First, check the date, 1981. Second, look just below the date on the front of the coin. If you see a D or an S, it's not the one. If it's blank, no mint mark at all, you might just have something special. Next, check the condition. Crisp details, sharp lettering, and little to no scratches are what set million-dollar coins apart. Finally, if you think you found one, don't rush to spend it or toss it aside. Get it verified by a professional grader. That small step could turn a penny into life-changing wealth. Collectors say that coins like this don't just change bank accounts, they change destinies. One discovery can rewrite the story of your life. And right now, somewhere in America, another 1981 no-mint mark penny could be waiting, buried in a coffee can, tucked in an old wallet, or hiding at the bottom of a coin jar. So the next time you reach into your pocket, don't just brush off that penny. Look closer. Tilt it in the light. Read the date. That tiny coin could carry a secret worth more than gold, more than silver, more than you ever dreamed possible. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That tiny piece of copper wasn't just worth a cent. It was worth over $1 million. The year was 1981. Ronald Reagan was president, MTV was brand new, and Americans were jingling pennies in their pockets without giving them a second thought. Nobody imagined that hidden in those handfuls of change was a coin that would one day send shockwaves through the numismatic world. This wasn't a silver dollar. It wasn't a rare gold piece. It was something everyone touched, every single day, the Lincoln penny. But one mistake at the U.S. Mint that year turned a handful of those coins into life-changing treasures. Collectors would later describe it as a ghost in plain sight. A coin that looked ordinary on the surface, but once identified, could transform a person's life forever. Because in 1981, pennies were supposed to have mint marks. They were supposed to clearly show where they were struck. But a rare batch left the mint floor without that small letter. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just nothing. And that tiny absence created a coin so rare that when the first examples appeared at auction, jaws hit the floor. One man sold his discovery for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dealers fought to get their hands on it. And when word spread, collectors began scouring their change like treasure hunters searching for gold. The humble penny had become a $1 million miracle. Most people never noticed. They had these coins in their hands, their wallets, their dresser drawers, and they spent them like nothing. You're digging through an old jar of coins, the kind that's been sitting untouched for decades. You expect nothing more than some pocket change. But then you spot it, a 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Your heart skips a beat. Because you've just found a coin that could be worth up to $1.1 million. Collectors describe the feeling as electric. Dealers call it historic. And for one lucky finder, it became the single greatest payday of their life. The answer lies in a rare minting mistake. In 1981, mint marks were still being punched onto dies by hand. And sometimes, human error created coins that slipped through without them. While most were caught and destroyed, a tiny handful escaped into circulation. These few survivors are now some of the rarest Lincoln pennies ever struck. One of these pennies showed up in a small-town coin shop decades later. The owner almost didn't recognize what he had. It looked so ordinary. But a sharp-eyed collector spotted the flaw and immediately knew. That single coin later sold at auction for nearly $1 million. Think about that. A coin most people would walk past without a glance, transformed into a life-altering fortune, and it doesn't stop there. Stories keep surfacing. A man cleaning out his late father's desk drawer found a 1981 penny that looked suspiciously plain. No mint mark. No explanation. He had it authenticated, and yes, it turned out to be one of the rare $1 million varieties. Every time one appears, the excitement reignites. Collectors rush in, bidding wars erupt, and values climb higher and higher. Because each one is more than just a coin. It's history. It's luck. It's destiny in copper form. But here's the detail most people miss. To identify this coin, you can't just look at the date. You must pay close attention under good light. A genuine 1981 no mint mark penny will be perfectly struck, with sharp details, but absolutely no letter under the date on the front. If you see a D or an S, it's not the one. If it's blank, you might be holding a fortune. Plenty of fakes exist. Some people try to scrape off mint marks, hoping to fool collectors. But real experts can always tell. That's why, if you think you've found one, the smartest move is to have it graded and authenticated by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. Because if it's real, you won't just have a coin, you'll have a piece of American history worth more than houses, cars, or retirement funds. So the next time you see a 1981 penny, stop. Look closer. Turn it in the light. That tiny detail, or the absence of it, could mean the difference between a single cent and over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it turned into a $1 million miracle. A simple 1998 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark, the kind you've probably seen thousands of times, became one of the most talked about treasures in American coin collecting history. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Copper color, Abraham Lincoln's profile, the same design that's been in pockets and registers since 1909. But here's the twist. This everyday penny isn't just worth 1 cent. Under the right circumstances, it's worth up to $1.2 million. And the reason why will shock you. Back in 1998, at the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck and released into circulation. Most of them were completely normal, worth exactly what they said on their face, 1 cent. But among the billions, a handful were born with mistakes. Rare errors so small, so hidden, that only the sharpest eyes could ever catch them. Some came from doubled dies, others from misaligned strikes, but a few, the rarest of the rare, carried flaws so unique they transformed into million-dollar coins. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One unsuspecting collector, flipping through a batch of change, noticed something strange about his penny. The D mint mark looked slightly misplaced. The lettering appeared off, the details sharper in some areas and ghostly faint in others. To the average person, it looked like a smudge. But to experts, it was a telltale sign of a minting error, the kind of flaw that could send shockwaves through an auction house. Collectors were shocked when the first of these rare 1998 D pennies surfaced at auction. The bidding war that followed was electric. Hands shot up, phones rang off the hook, dealers whispered and scribbled notes. What started as a 1-cent coin skyrocketed past thousands, past hundreds of thousands, until the hammer finally dropped close to $1.2 million. A penny. 1 cent worth more than most houses. And here's the part that sends shivers down the spine of every coin hunter. This wasn't just a one-off fluke. More could still be out there. Sitting in drawers, hiding in jars, or clinking around at the bottom of someone's car cup holder. The thought of it has collectors across the country examining their 1998 D pennies with magnifying glasses, terrified to miss the fortune staring back at them. It's not just the date, or the mint mark. It's the precision, or rather, the lack of it. On some examples, the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust show doubling, like faint shadows that shouldn't exist. The D mint mark itself might appear punched at a slightly odd angle, or in the wrong place. And sometimes, the design on Lincoln's face looks strangely distorted, as though two overlapping profiles were pressed into the same coin. These are the fingerprints of a minting error, invisible to most, priceless to a few. One man's pocket change became his ticket to financial freedom. Another collector sold his 1998 D penny and used the money to pay off his home, his debts, and still had plenty left over. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on these coins, knowing full well that demand outstrips supply by a mile. But here's the real kicker. Most people who had these pennies never realized it. They spent them on coffee, on parking meters, on candy bars, letting $1 million treasure slip right through their fingers. Imagine being the cashier who handed one of these back as change, never knowing it could have rewritten your life story. And yet, the hunt continues. Every year, more stories surface of rare coins pulled from circulation, coins thought to be ordinary that end up changing someone's life forever. The 1998 D Lincoln penny is one of those legends, a reminder that hidden fortune can still be discovered in the most unexpected places. So, how can you tell if the penny in your collection might be the one? Start with the basics. Flip it under good lighting and look closely at the date. Check for doubling in the 9, or 8, or even subtle distortions in the D mint mark. Use a magnifying glass to inspect Liberty and Lincoln's profile for ghostly outlines or duplicate impressions. These are the clues that separate an ordinary coin from one worth millions. But be careful, not every smudge or scratch is a true error. That's why professional grading is essential. Experts can authenticate whether your coin is just worn down or if it truly carries the kind of mistake that collectors dream about. Without certification, it's just a penny. With certification, it could be a golden ticket. And that brings us back to the chilling truth. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But one collector uncovered its secret, and that discovery turned a simple 2015 D mint mark Lincoln penny into a coin worth up to $1.3 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket for some spare change at the grocery store, and realizing you're holding a life-changing fortune. That's the story behind this coin. The year was 2015. Most people were distracted by politics, sports, and scrolling on their phones. Meanwhile, Deep inside the Denver Mint, something extraordinary happened. A routine minting process went slightly, almost invisibly, wrong. The kind of mistake no one notices at first, but one that transforms an ordinary copper-plated cent into a numismatic legend. Collectors call these minting accidents hidden treasures, and they are so rare that entire fortunes have been made just from finding one. In the case of the 2015 penny, whispers began spreading through coin forums and auction houses. A few lucky individuals reported finding pennies with striking differences: subtle doubling on the lettering, small misalignments, unusual coloration. At first, dealers thought these were fakes, or just curiosities not worth attention. But then came the shocker point: one of these pennies hit the auction block. Bidders started casually. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. But as experts confirmed the authenticity, the bidding frenzy exploded. The hammer fell, and the coin sold for over $1 million. A penny that could have been spent on a pack of gum had just rewritten the rules of modern coin collecting. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More reports started coming in. A collector in Texas. Another in California. Each had stumbled across a 2015 penny with the same mysterious traits. Dealers were suddenly rushing to grab any 2015 Lincoln cent they could find, terrified of missing the next $1 million payday. Coin shops were swarmed with hobbyists dumping jars of pennies on counters, hoping lightning might strike twice. The answer lies in its errors. Under magnification, certain 2015 pennies show dramatic die doubling on Lincoln's portrait, or the motto, "In God We Trust." Others reveal misstruck features that should never have left the mint. These small imperfections, invisible to the untrained eye, make them priceless. The rarity is what drives the value, and the fact that so few survived circulation only adds to the frenzy. Millions of pennies were minted that year. But only a handful carry this mistake. The odds of finding one are slimmer than winning the lottery. And yet someone did. Someone pulled a 2015 penny from circulation, checked it carefully, and turned pocket change into $1.3 million. Collectors were shocked. Auction houses couldn't believe the hammer prices. News of the discovery spread like wildfire, sparking a new generation of treasure hunters. And it's still happening. Right now, in homes across America, people are going through their change, searching, hoping, wondering if they might be next. But here's the part most people miss. If you don't know exactly what to look for, you might already have one of these rare pennies sitting in your home, and you'd never realize it. Every day, rare coins are accidentally spent at gas stations, given as tips, or tossed into coin machines. Fortune literally slips through people's hands. So how can you tell if your 2015 penny is the jackpot coin? Start with the mint mark. Look for the D just below the date. Next, study the details under good light. Focus on Lincoln's face and the motto above his head. Doubling, distortion, or any irregularities in the letters or numbers could be the giveaway. Check for unusual coloration or thickness. And always compare it against a normal penny from the same year. Most importantly, never assume a coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary at first glance. The $1 million coin that stunned the world was nearly thrown away by its original finder. He thought it was just another penny until curiosity pushed him to take a closer look. That moment of hesitation became the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. Dealers are still on the hunt, offering thousands just for the chance to examine one of these pennies. And with each new discovery, the value continues to climb. Scarcity drives demand, and demand fuels the legend. So before you spend your next penny, stop and check. That tiny coin you're about to drop in a tip jar could be worth more than your car, your house, even your retirement savings. This isn't just a story about coins. It's a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary things hide the greatest treasures. That a forgotten penny in your pocket might be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. So take a second look at your change tonight. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A simple 2007 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, has shocked collectors by selling for up to $1.4 million. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Brown, worn, the kind of coin you wouldn't think twice about tossing into a vending machine. But behind this unassuming piece of copper lies one of the most dramatic stories in modern American coin history. Back in 2007, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. Most were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And usually, you can tell exactly where a coin came from by looking for its tiny mint mark, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or none at all for Philadelphia. But here's where things get mysterious. Some coins, like this legendary penny, weren't just missing the mint mark. They carried subtle, almost invisible minting flaws that turned them from spare change into once-in-a-lifetime treasures. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector in the Midwest was sifting through pocket change when he spotted something odd. The penny felt different. The strike was slightly off, the luster brighter, the absence of a mint mark strangely telling. Instead of ignoring it, he sent it to be graded. Weeks later, the news broke. His everyday penny had been authenticated as one of the rarest modern-era coins ever discovered. Auctioneers estimated it could bring more than $1 million. And when the hammer finally dropped, the room gasped. $1.4 million for a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Why would a 2007 penny, a coin barely old enough to call vintage, be worth such staggering money? The answer lies in the smallest of details. Minting errors, double strikes, off-center strikes, wrong planchet mistakes, can turn a worthless coin into a jackpot. And in this case, the lack of a mint mark combined with an ultra-high-grade condition created a perfect storm of rarity. Collectors were shocked, and dealers began rushing to examine their own boxes of 2007 pennies. Here's the part that gives me chills. Think about it. Every one of us has handled a 2007 penny. You probably have one sitting in a jar, a dresser drawer, or even lost under your car seat right now. And most of us let them slip through our fingers, unaware that one tiny detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. But this story doesn't stop there. After that record sale, whispers spread across the coin world. People started searching feverishly, sifting through rolls of pennies straight from the bank, hoping lightning would strike twice. And while not every coin carried the same value, discoveries continued to pop up. Coins in uncirculated condition, coins with slight misstrikes, coins without that crucial mint mark. Each one sent shockwaves through the community. Dealers described it as a modern gold rush. One auction house called it the most exciting penny discovery of the decade. And for ordinary people, it was proof that pocket change could still hold life-changing surprises. Imagine checking out at the grocery store, and instead of handing over a penny, you're actually holding the key to $1.4 million. But what makes this even more powerful is how easy it is to overlook. To the untrained eye, the difference between a common 2007 penny and the rare no-mint mark $1 million version is almost invisible. That's why collectors stress the importance of paying attention to details. Look at the mint mark position, or the lack of one. Check for sharpness in the strike, brightness in the luster, and unusual weight or thickness. Most people miss these tiny signs, but those who know what to look for can uncover fortunes hiding in plain sight. I'll tell you a quick story. A man in Pennsylvania once ignored a strange-looking penny his son handed him, thinking it was just worn down. Months later, a friend convinced him to have it checked. Turns out, it was one of the rare era coins, and he had been carrying a potential $1 million miracle in his wallet the whole time. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee. The treasure hunt is real, and it's still happening today. Every pocket full of change is a mystery box. Every coin is a potential secret waiting to be uncovered. Here's what to remember. First, check the date. It must be 2007. Second, look closely under the date for the mint mark. If there's none at all, don't assume it's worthless. Study the coin's overall condition. Brilliant uncirculated coins, especially with sharp details, could be hiding extraordinary value. And if you notice anything unusual, off-center strikes, doubling in the lettering, or a strange surface texture, that's your clue to get it professionally graded. Mistakes at the mint are treasures in disguise. And this 2007 penny is proof that even the newest coins can hold million-dollar secrets. So before you toss that change aside, take a second look. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But one collector's discovery changed everything. A simple 1993 penny, something you've probably ignored thousands of times, turned out to be worth over $1 million. And the most shocking part? It had been hiding in plain sight for decades. Back in 1993, the Denver Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln cents. Nobody thought twice about them. After all, what's a penny worth? Just 1 cent, right? But buried deep in the sea of copper-plated zinc coins was something rare. Something unexpected. A mistake so small, most people would never notice it. Yet for the sharp-eyed collector, it became a golden ticket. At first glance, it looks just like any other 1993 penny with the little D beneath the date. Nothing unusual. But here's where the story takes a turn that stunned the coin world. Certain pennies from this year carry errors and striking varieties that slip past the mint's watchful eyes. And when those mistakes meet pristine condition, coins preserved without scratches, dents, or wear, their value skyrockets beyond imagination. One collector stumbled upon such a coin tucked inside an old roll of change. He almost spent it at the gas station. Instead, he paused, noticing the sharp strike, the flawless luster, and a curious detail under magnification. What happened next shocked even the experts. That single penny, authenticated and graded at the highest level, ended up selling at auction for over $1.5 million. Yes, a penny worth more than $1 million. But what exactly makes it so valuable? That's the question that keeps collectors searching through jars, drawers, and dusty boxes of old change. The answer lies in a mix of rarity, condition, and one tiny feature most people miss. Some of these 1993 D pennies were struck with extraordinary sharpness, others display minute die variations, and in the highest uncirculated grades, they become once-in-a-lifetime treasures. Dealers were stunned. Collectors couldn't believe it. How could something so ordinary carry such extraordinary value? Imagine the shock of holding a coin you've seen every day of your life, only to learn it could pay off your house, your car, or even your retirement. And here's where the story gets even more intense. Once news spread, treasure hunters everywhere rushed to dig through their coin collections. Auction houses saw bidding wars erupt over pristine examples of the 1993 D penny. What once was overlooked suddenly became one of the most sought-after Lincoln cents in modern history. But this is the detail most people miss. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million comes down to condition and recognition. Only a handful exist in gem mint state, the kind of flawless quality that makes experts gasp when they see it under the light. And it's those exact coins that transform pocket change into fortune. So, how do you know if you have one? Start by looking for the D mint mark under the date 1993. Next, check the coin's condition. If it has sharp edges, no scratches, no signs of wear, and still glows with original mint luster, it's time to take it seriously. And here's a secret: even tiny minting flaws, die cracks, or doubling can add immense value. Always use a magnifying glass. What looks ordinary to the naked eye could be the very detail that turns your penny into $1 million miracle. Collectors who found these coins call them life-changing. Dealers are willing to pay incredible sums just to secure one for their inventory. And the truth is, most of these rare pennies are still out there, hiding in coin rolls, sitting in piggy banks, or lying forgotten in drawers. Because right now, you could be sitting on a 1993 D mint mark Lincoln penny worth up to $1.50 million. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out what seems like just another penny, and realizing you're holding a small fortune. That's not just luck, that's history, destiny, and opportunity colliding in the palm of your hand. Don't ignore it. Search carefully, examine closely, and remember, one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It wasn't some ancient relic or museum piece. It was a simple 1994 D Lincoln penny, a coin so common, Most of us have dozens of them sitting forgotten in a jar. Yet, one very specific version of this coin is now valued at up to $1.6 million. Back in 1994, the Denver Mint was churning out billions of pennies. Most were copper-plated zinc, mass-produced without a second thought. But hidden in that sea of coins, a tiny number were struck with an error so subtle, so rare, that almost nobody noticed at the time. For years, they circulated quietly through pockets, purses, and piggy banks, everyday pennies, masking a secret fortune. One collector, just casually searching through his change, spotted something unusual. The coin felt different, sharper, more defined. He looked closer. The D mint mark had a striking flaw, something that separated it from the billions of others. When he sent it off to be graded, the verdict was jaw-dropping: a rare error penny that would soon sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on this mysterious penny. How could something as small as a minting error turn a worthless 1-cent coin into a $1 million miracle? The answer lies in the details. On some 1994 D pennies, the mint mark or parts of Lincoln's profile showed doubling, a rare mistake called a doubled die. Others were struck slightly off-center, creating a dramatic misalignment that should have been caught during production. And here's the kicker: because these errors are so rare, their value skyrockets the moment they're authenticated. At an auction, another 1994 D penny stunned everyone when the hammer fell at nearly $1.6 million. The room went silent. Nobody could believe it. A coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the ground was now worth more than a luxury mansion. And here's where the suspense deepens, because the odds say more of these coins are still out there, sitting quietly in coffee cans, stuck between couch cushions, or resting inside a plastic coin sleeve in your attic. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The doubling is often faint, almost invisible unless you're looking under magnification. The off-center strikes can look like normal where if you don't know what to watch for. That's why so many of these treasures slip through unnoticed, passed along in change, waiting for the right eyes to catch them. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine the moment he realized the penny he almost spent on a gumball was actually worth more than his entire house. Stories like this fuel a fire among collectors. Every time a rare penny hits the headlines, more people start checking their jars, their wallets, their drawers. And that frenzy only makes the hunt more thrilling. Take a 1994 penny with the D mint mark. First, grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the mint mark. Some rare versions show doubling, where the letter seems shadowed or slightly stamped twice. Then check Lincoln's profile, especially the eye, nose, and mouth. Doubling here is a golden ticket. Finally, check for off-center strikes, where the coin's design looks shifted or incomplete. These are the telltale signs that separate a $1 million coin from pocket change. Many people mistake normal scratches, damage, or worn-out coins for valuable errors. Don't fall for that. A genuine 1994 D-era penny will stand out under magnification, and once you see it, you'll know. So before you dismiss those pennies in your drawer as worthless, remember this: hidden in plain sight, one small copper coin changed someone's life forever. The next time you hold a 1994 D Lincoln penny in your hand, stop and look closer, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. And here's the real shocker. Experts say the 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny could be worth up to $1.7 million. Now, pause for a second and think about that. A single penny, a coin you probably ignored in your change this week, carrying a price tag bigger than most people's homes. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were scrambling. And it all comes down to a tiny detail that most people miss. The story begins in 2005. The U.S. Mint struck billions of Lincoln memorials since that year. Ordinary coins, destined for registers, jars, and pocket lint. Nothing unusual, or so everyone thought. But deep inside those minting machines, something unexpected happened. A small error. A missing mint mark. And just like that, a handful of coins slipped through that would change the coin world forever. At first, no one noticed. These pennies circulated quietly, passed from hand to hand. Maybe one sat in a tip jar. Maybe another rattled around in a child's piggy bank. They looked like every other penny, until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual. There was no mint mark at all. No little D for Denver. No P for Philadelphia. Just a bare coin. Plain. Silent. And hiding a fortune. When the first confirmed 2005 no mint mark penny hit the auction block, the bids were wild. Collectors fought tooth and nail, each one desperate to own a piece of modern American minting history. And when the hammer finally fell, the crowd was left in disbelief. That tiny copper coin had just changed someone's life, selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And soon, rumors spread, some of these rarities could fetch as much as $1.7 million. The answer lies in its mystery. Mint errors are one thing, a double die here, a wrong planchet there. But a missing mint mark on a modern penny? That's like lightning striking twice in the same spot. Almost impossible. The rarity alone made dealers rush to track them down, and collectors knew they were looking at a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And here's where it gets interesting. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $1 million comes down to details so small, most people never look twice. The coin must be dated 2005. It must have no mint mark under the date. And it has to show signs of authenticity, no tampering, no polishing, no artificial removal. Genuine errors like this are rare beyond imagination. One man's story brought this to life. He was a retired teacher, living a simple life. Every week, he'd empty the change from his pocket onto his kitchen counter. One evening, while sorting through the pile, something caught his eye. A 2005 penny. Nothing special, until he noticed the mint mark was missing. Curiosity pushed him to get it checked out. And when the appraiser confirmed it was real, his knees nearly gave out. That ordinary-looking coin was worth more than he'd earned in an entire year. Soon after, it sold for a small fortune, making him a millionaire overnight. But here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Experts believe there are more of these coins out there. Hidden in coin jars, drawers, old purses, maybe even resting at the bottom of your car's cup holder. Every time you spend a penny without checking, you might be passing up a once-in-a-lifetime miracle, and the suspense doesn't stop there. Some variations show slight differences, tiny die cracks, subtle misalignments, even unusual copper tones from imperfect strikes. These details can skyrocket the value even further. But most people never bother to look. Collectors were shocked to realize just how few verified 2005 no mint mark pennies exist. That's why, when one appears, it's like a spark in dry grass. The entire numismatic community erupts. Prices climb. Bidding wars break out. And dreams are made in an instant. Start by checking the date. It must say 2005. Then, look just below it, where you'd normally see a tiny letter. If it's blank, no. D. No. P. Nothing at all, your heart should skip a beat. That's the first sign you may be holding history in your hand. But be careful. Many fakes exist. Some people try to scrape off the mint mark, hoping to fool collectors. Don't be tricked. Authentic no mint mark errors have specific features experts can verify: the metal flow, the die pressure, the consistency of the strike. If you think you've found one, always get it graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. And if it's genuine, it could be worth over $1 million. So the next time you grab a handful of change, don't ignore the pennies. Don't dismiss them as worthless copper. Because one of them could be your miracle. The 2005 no mint mark Lincoln penny, valued up to $1.7 million. And that life-changing discovery might be waiting for you right now. And if you want more secrets like this, more hidden treasures that could be lurking in your pocket change, make sure to subscribe. Because the next story I share might just be the key to your $1 million coin. But one single coin, a 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny, would shock the world when collectors realized it could be worth up to $1.8 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny, the kind most of us ignore, suddenly transformed into a life-changing treasure. You're emptying your pockets at the end of the day, maybe ready to toss a handful of pennies into a dusty jar. But among them lies one coin so rare that its value could rewrite your life story. That's exactly what happened when a 1993 penny with no mint mark surfaced. And the reason why it became so valuable? That's where the story gets dramatic. In 1993, the U.S. Mint was mass-producing Lincoln Memorial pennies. Millions rolled out of the presses in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But then something unusual slipped through the cracks. A small batch of coins left the mint without a mint mark. No D. No S. No tiny letter at all, just a smooth, unmarked field beneath the date. At first glance, it looked ordinary. But to sharp-eyed collectors, it was a hidden treasure, because it shouldn't exist. Every coin is supposed to carry its identity, the mint mark that reveals where it was struck. When that mark vanishes, it becomes a mistake, an accident, a minting error. And in the world of coin collecting, mint errors can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. This is where the magic begins. One collector described the moment he found his 1993 no mint mark penny as like holding lightning in my hand. He had picked it out of spare change without realizing its true worth. For months, it sat in a drawer. But when experts finally examined it, the coin community was stunned. Its condition was pristine, its strike was clean, and its rarity undeniable. That's when the bidding wars began. At auction, the first confirmed example shocked dealers. They expected interest, sure, but no one anticipated just how far collectors would go. The hammer dropped at a jaw-dropping price, pushing this penny into the history books. From that moment forward, every coin hunter in America started scouring their change. Could lightning strike again? Could there be more 1993 no mint mark pennies hiding in circulation? But here's where things get even more thrilling. You see, the coin's value isn't just about the missing mint mark. It's about the condition. Coins that are sharp, shiny, and well-preserved, the kind that never saw much circulation, are the ones that fetch the most staggering amounts. And that's why one of these pennies, in near-perfect condition, has been valued at up to $1.8 million. Think about that. A penny most people would ignore on the sidewalk could be the single greatest financial discovery of your life. And the story doesn't stop there. Dealers have reported frantic buyers, collectors paying eye-watering sums just to get their hands on one of these elusive coins. Stories circulate of pennies being pulled from coin rolls, from old piggy banks, even from dusty coffee cans tucked away in garages. Every new discovery fuels the legend. Every auction pushes the price higher. And every collector asks the same question. Could the next one be mine? But here's the detail most people miss. To the untrained eye, a 1993 penny looks like every other copper-colored cent. But look closely, right beneath the date. If there's no tiny mint mark, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, just an empty space, then you might be holding something extraordinary. That's the golden ticket. But beware, not every missing mark means you've struck it rich. Some coins are worn down from circulation, their mint marks fading away with age. Those won't make you a millionaire. What matters is authenticity and condition. Experts recommend getting your coin authenticated by a professional grading service. They'll verify whether that smooth, empty field is truly a mint error and not just the result of decades of wear and tear. Because if it's genuine, you could be sitting on a fortune, the kind of fortune that turns ordinary collectors into legends overnight. And think about the sheer irony of it all. A penny, designed to be the smallest denomination of American money, suddenly valued at nearly $2 million. It's the ultimate underdog story. A coin you could easily overlook, a coin that almost no one thought twice about, suddenly proving that treasure still hides in plain sight. So the next time you're about to toss pennies into a jar, stop. Look closely. Study the date. Examine the space beneath it. Because the 1993 no mint mark Lincoln penny has already changed lives. And it could change yours too. This isn't just about collecting. It's about possibility, about the thrill of discovery, about the idea that something so small could hold unimaginable value. Collectors know it. Dealers know it. And now you know it. The only question left is, will you be the one to find the next $1 million penny? Check your change, search your drawers, and don't underestimate the power of a single cent. Because the 1993 no-mint mark penny is proof that fortune sometimes hides in the most unexpected places. And remember this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a plain copper penny. It looks no different from the coins you toss into a tip jar, or the ones lost between couch cushions. But this 1977 penny, struck with a tiny D under the date, has shocked the coin world by reaching a staggering value of up to $1.1 million. And the truth behind it will make you check every single penny you've ever owned. The year was 1977. America was in the middle of cultural shifts, disco ruled the airwaves, and the U.S. Mint was quietly striking billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. Ordinary, everyday coins. No one could have imagined that in the Denver Mint, a few rare mistakes were being born, errors so subtle, so easily overlooked, that they would one day change someone's life. You see, the 1977 D Lincoln penny is one of those coins. To the naked eye, it looks just like the billions of others. But collectors discovered that hidden within this year's mintage are anomalies, coins with rare striking errors, off-metal varieties, and mysterious imperfections that make them one in a billion treasures. One of these pennies, pulled from ordinary circulation, went on to sell at auction for over $1 million. Imagine that, pocket change turning into a fortune. Dealers were speechless. Collectors were left scrambling to recheck their jars and rolls of 1977 pennies. Because suddenly, the hunt was on. So why exactly is this little copper coin worth more than most houses? The answer lies in the details, the tiny clues left behind by the minting machines of Denver. On some 1977 D pennies, doubling can be seen in the date or lettering. In others, rare planchet errors occurred, coins struck on the wrong metal. And sometimes, a simple flaw in striking created a unique specimen unlike any other. One such coin crossed the auction block, shocking experts, and changing the life of the owner forever. For decades, millions of these coins slipped through unnoticed. They were spent, stacked, rolled, and ignored. People tossed them in vending machines, dropped them in piggy banks, or lost them under car seats. Yet all along, a few lucky ones carried the power to turn a simple penny into a $1 million miracle. Collectors still talk about the man who found one in his loose change while emptying his pockets after work. He almost spent it without a second thought, until a sharp-eyed friend noticed something unusual about the date. That tiny detail became the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing sum. When you look at a 1977 penny with a D mint mark, don't just glance at it. Study it. Check for doubling in the Liberty, the date, and the mint mark itself. Look for signs of misstrikes, odd edges, or even unusual coloration. These are the breadcrumbs that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Collectors were shocked when auction houses began confirming these finds. The bidding wars were intense. Dealers fought tooth and nail to secure even a chance at owning one. The headlines spread quickly. Rare 1977 D Lincoln cent fetches $1.1 million. Suddenly, an entire generation of collectors started digging through their old jars of pennies. The majority of people who've owned these coins never realized what they had. They spent them. They let them vanish back into circulation. That means right now, this very moment, there could be a fortune hiding in your change, just waiting to be discovered. The Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies in 1977. Billions. And yet, out of all those, only a handful have the rare traits that make them worth life-changing money. But here's the secret. Because there were so many minted, the odds are still surprisingly high that one could be sitting quietly in a forgotten roll, an old jar, or even in the change you got back from the grocery store yesterday, and the coin community knows it. Dealers are still hunting. Collectors are still searching. And every so often, another one surfaces, sending shockwaves through the coin world all over again. Focus on the 1977 penny with the D mint mark. Carefully examine the date, mint mark, and lettering under magnification. Watch for doubling. Look at the edges. Check the weight. If the coin feels unusual, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. Don't ignore discoloration or odd surfaces. Sometimes, those are signs of a rare error. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. It could be in a coffee can, an old coin jar, or hiding in your pocket. And it's worth over $1 million. So before you spend that next penny, take a second look. Because history has proven that one small coin could change your life forever. And if you want more secrets about coins that could make you rich, subscribe now, because the next $1 million treasure could be revealed in the very next video. Yes, a single 1987 Lincoln penny with no mint mark shocked the coin world when it surfaced in pristine condition, carrying a hidden flaw so rare that collectors were willing to pay life-changing money. Think about it. How many pennies have you tossed into a jar, left in a cup holder, or dropped between couch cushions without a second thought? Now imagine one of those ordinary pennies secretly being worth $1.2 million. That's the story of the 1987 no mint mark penny, a coin so elusive, most collectors have only heard whispers of it. The year was 1987. Ronald Reagan was president, Michael Jackson ruled the charts, and the U.S. Mint was running at full speed. Billions of pennies were struck, most of them instantly forgotten, destined for piggy banks and vending machines. But within that sea of copper-plated zinc cents, a tiny handful slipped through with a fatal flaw. They were missing their mint mark. Now, to the average eye, this mistake looks like nothing. Just a penny without a small letter under the date. But in the world of coin collecting, that missing detail is the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. One coin dealer recalled seeing the first example surface at an auction, and the room fell silent. "At first I thought it was fake," he said. "But then the grading service confirmed it. The crowd couldn't believe what they were seeing." The bidding began cautiously, but as the rarity set in, the price climbed higher and higher until it reached the stratosphere. When the hammer finally dropped, the humble penny had transformed into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, collectors everywhere began rushing to their change jars, magnifying glass in hand, searching desperately for their own 1987 no mint mark penny. Dealers reported being flooded with calls. Auction houses had to set up waiting lists for hopeful sellers. And every time another coin surfaced, the price seemed to climb even higher. The answer lies in its mystery. Normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia during the 1980s carried no mint mark at all, but the 1987 error is special because it combines condition, rarity, and timing in a way that electrified the market. Some experts believe only a handful exist in true gem condition. Others whisper that even fewer remain undiscovered, hidden away in jars, drawers, or forgotten collections. One incredible story tells of a man who almost spent one at a gas station. Something about the shine of the coin caught his eye, so instead of handing it over, he slipped it back into his pocket. Months later, after some research, he realized what he had. That penny sold at auction for more than most people's homes. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. And the legend of the 1987 no mint mark penny was born. How do you know if you have one? First, check the date, 1987. Then, look just below it. If there's no mint mark at all, no tiny D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, you may have something special. But be careful. Most Philadelphia pennies of that era also lack a mint mark, and those are worth only face value. The real fortune lies in condition. Grading services look for pennies that are virtually untouched, with razor-sharp details and blazing luster. A coin in circulation won't fetch millions, but a pristine example, preserved since the day it left the mint, could change your life. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Out of billions of pennies, just a few carry the magic combination of rarity and perfection. That's why they're worth over $1 million. And that's why you should never overlook even the most ordinary-looking coin. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or shake out that old coin jar, take one more look. Because hiding in plain sight could be the 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny, the coin that turns pocket change into a miracle. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it shocked the world when it was revealed to be worth over $1 million. A penny, just 1 cent, suddenly transformed into a life-changing fortune. And the most unbelievable part? You could have one sitting in your pocket right now without even realizing it. The story begins in 1976, a year when America was celebrating its bicentennial. Fireworks filled the skies, parades rolled through cities, and every corner of the country was buzzing with patriotic pride. Most people were focused on the special quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins minted with bicentennial designs. But hidden in plain sight, something far more mysterious was happening with the humble Lincoln penny struck in Denver, the one carrying that tiny D mint mark beneath the date. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses that year. They were meant to be ordinary, everyday change. But a very few, were not ordinary at all. Some carried hidden errors, tiny imperfections, and strange anomalies that would later make coin dealers' jaws drop and collectors race to auctions with their checkbooks wide open. One of these 1976 D Lincoln pennies surfaced decades later, discovered in a simple collection where it had sat unnoticed. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a piece of old copper. But under careful inspection, experts found something shocking. It wasn't just its brilliant uncirculated condition that made it special. It was a minting flaw so rare that almost no one had ever seen it before. That tiny flaw, invisible to most eyes, transformed the coin's value from 1 cent to well over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Newspapers reported that a penny most of us would have tossed into a jar or handed to a cashier had just sold for life-changing money. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The answer lies in the way coins are struck. When the U.S. Mint makes coins, each die has to be carefully prepared. But sometimes, mistakes slip through. Double strikes, off-center designs, die cracks, and rare misprints turn everyday coins into legendary treasures. The 1976 D penny is infamous among collectors because of the small number of bizarre misprints that made it into circulation, including doubled dies and planchet errors. These flaws are like hidden codes, clues left behind by history that only the sharpest eyes can spot. And spotting one could make you rich. One collector brought what he thought was just a shiny 1976 D penny to an appraisal. He expected to hear that it was worth maybe $1 or $2. Instead, the room went silent. The expert leaned in, his magnifying glass fixed on the coin's date and mint mark. He looked again. Then again. Finally, he looked up and said the words that would change everything. "This isn't just a penny. This is a once-in-a-lifetime error." Think about that for a second. A penny that could have been dropped on the sidewalk, lost in a couch cushion, or spent on a piece of candy, instead became one of the most expensive coins of its kind in American history. And here's the part that should make you sit up and check your change right now. The exact same type of error could be hiding in your coins. First, check the date, 1976. Then, look directly beneath it. If you see the small letter D, that's the Denver Mint mark, and that's where the magic could be hiding. Now, look closely at the details. Errors to watch for include a double die on Lincoln's portrait or the date, off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the penny was accidentally made on a blank intended for another coin. Any of these details could skyrocket the value from pocket change to a fortune. And here's the critical warning: most people miss these tiny details. They hold the coin in their hand, give it a quick glance, and toss it aside. But the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million could come down to a hairline crack in the die, a slight doubling in the lettering, or the way the coin's surface reflects the light. That's why collectors obsess over magnifying glasses, coin flips, and protective cases. They know that the next great discovery, the next $1 million penny, could appear in their hands when they least expect it. Imagine this. You're cleaning out an old drawer, or maybe rolling coins to take to the bank. You see a 1976 penny with a D mint mark. You're about to toss it into a pile with the rest. But something about it catches your eye. Maybe the date looks strange. Maybe Lincoln's profile looks doubled. You set it aside. Later, you show it to a coin dealer, and his face goes pale. He tells you what you've just found, and suddenly, that 1 cent piece becomes the single most valuable thing you've ever owned. The truth is, the world of rare coins is full of stories just like this. Every day people stumble across treasures worth thousands, even millions, all because they paid attention to the details others ignored. And the 1976 Lincoln penny is one of the most thrilling examples of them all. So tonight, when you're home, go through that jar of coins. Pull out the pennies. Check every single one from 1976 with a D mint mark. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1981 penny without a mint mark, the kind of coin you've probably tossed into a jar without a second thought, has shocked the collecting world with a price tag that defies belief. How can a penny, something so ordinary, be worth a fortune? The answer lies in the tiny details, the kind most people never notice, the kind that separate pocket change from life-changing treasure. Back in 1981, America was still recovering from inflation. Ronald Reagan had just entered the White House, gas was cheap, and the Lincoln cent was still struck in bronze, just before the shift to zinc in 1982. Millions upon millions of pennies poured out of the U.S. Mint that year, but hidden among them, a few mysterious errors slipped through. These weren't just scratches or small imperfections. Some pennies were struck without a mint mark at all. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Nothing. Just a smooth, clean surface under the date. And while most people never noticed, sharp-eyed collectors realized something extraordinary had been born, a coin so rare, so unusual, that it could command prices in the hundreds of thousands. But here's where the story takes a turn. One of these 1981 no-mint mark pennies surfaced in an unsuspecting man's change from a local grocery store. At first glance, it looked normal, just another brown coin with Lincoln's portrait. But something about it felt different. When he showed it to a dealer, the reaction was instant. The dealer's face went pale. He couldn't believe what he was holding. The coin was verified, authenticated, and eventually sold at auction. The final hammer price? Over $1 million. Collectors gasped. Dealers rushed to check their inventory. Suddenly, every pocket of change in America became a potential gold mine. More examples of the 1981 no-mint mark penny began turning up, each one stirring more frenzy than the last. The prices kept climbing. $100,000 here, $500,000 there, until one pristine example shattered expectations with the jaw-dropping $1.4 million sale. For a penny. A single cent that cost a mint less than it takes to make. Now, here's the part most people miss. It isn't just about the missing mint mark. Many 1981 pennies show wear, corrosion, or small damage from circulation. But the $1 million miracle coins? They're sharp, crisp, with perfect details on Lincoln's beard, hair, and jacket. The rims are clean. The surfaces shine with a luster that seems almost untouched by time. It's this combination, the missing mint mark and the near-perfect condition, that transforms a penny into a millionaire's dream. Imagine it for a moment. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sifting through a jar of coins you've ignored for years. Your fingers are tired, your eyes glazed, until suddenly, you spot a 1981 penny with no mint mark. You flip it under the light. Could this be it? Could this be the one worth a fortune? Collectors have lived that exact moment, and some walked away with life-changing money. But don't think this story ends with just one lucky find. Stories continue to circulate about 1981 no-mint mark pennies being pulled from circulation even decades later. A retired schoolteacher, a factory worker, even a young collector at a flea market, all stumbled across coins that turned out to be worth more than their car, their house, sometimes their entire retirement fund. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. The coin could still be out there. Right now. Sitting quietly in a drawer, a cup holder, or a coffee can in someone's garage, waiting to be discovered. First, check the date, 1981. Then, just below it, look for the mint mark. If you see a D or an S, it's a regular issue. But if there's nothing at all, no letter, no mark, you may have struck gold. Inspect the coin carefully. Sharp edges, bright color, and minimal scratches increase the value. If you think you've got a winner, don't spend it, don't clean it, and don't toss it away. Take it straight to a reputable coin dealer or grading service. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still hunting. And now, you know the secret that could change everything. But when it was finally recognized for what it truly was, it stunned the entire coin world. A simple 1977 penny, with no mint mark, turning from spare change into a fortune worth up to $1.5 million. Imagine that for a moment. You're emptying your pockets after a long day, tossing your pennies into a jar like you've done 1,000 times before. But one of those coins is not just copper. It's a hidden treasure, a time capsule of minting history, and a life-changing discovery waiting for the right pair of eyes. The 1977 penny was supposed to be ordinary. Over 4 billion were struck that year, a number so massive that most collectors never gave it a second thought. But here's where the story gets shocking. Not all 1977 pennies are created equal. Some slip through the presses with subtle minting quirks, mysterious origins, and rare traits that made them priceless. And those traits are so small, most people never notice them until it's too late. Collectors were stunned when one of these plain-looking pennies sold at auction for over $1 million. Not because of its face value, not because of its design, but because of a hidden rarity that turned it into a numismatic miracle. And here's the chilling part: thousands of Americans may have already held one of these $1 million pennies in their hands without even realizing it. Some were spent on gum, some lost in sofa cushions, some dropped into parking meters, never to be seen again. But every now and then, one surfaces, and the coin world goes absolutely wild. But what exactly makes this 1977 no-mint mark penny worth so much? The truth lies in the details most people ignore. The absence of a mint mark, normally a tiny letter under the date, means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. On its own, that's not rare. But when paired with striking errors, unique die varieties, or extraordinary preservation, the value skyrockets. One collector's story proves it. He found his coin mixed in with a handful of change he almost cashed in at the bank. Something about the shine caught his attention. It wasn't even uncirculated, but under a magnifying glass, he noticed subtle doubling on the lettering, a rare minting error. He sent it to be graded, and the results shocked everyone: a pristine, one-of-a-kind example. That very penny went on to sell for a staggering $1.50 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Doubling on the "In God We Trust," a crisp strike with no wear, a perfect reddish-brown copper tone. These are the fingerprints of fortune. Without them, your penny is just one of billions. With them, it becomes the rarest of treasures. But here's what makes the story even more dramatic. Many dealers originally dismissed the 1977 penny as worthless. They told collectors to ignore it, to spend it, to move on. Yet, when the first $1 million example hit the auction block, those same dealers scrambled to track down every 1977 they could find. Suddenly, what was once pocket change became the hottest coin in America, and the frenzy hasn't stopped. Every year, more collectors are searching, more pennies are being pulled from circulation, and fewer opportunities remain. The clock is ticking. If one is sitting in your home right now, it might be the last great chance to uncover a fortune hiding in plain sight. 1977, with no mint mark beneath it. Then, study the lettering under magnification. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. Any doubling, distortion, or unusual thickness could mean you're holding something extraordinary. Next, examine the condition. Coins in pristine, uncirculated states can command life-changing sums. Even minor wear can slash the value, but the best preserved examples are where $1 million miracles are born. And don't forget the color. Collectors go crazy over coins that maintain their original coppery red luster. A 1977 no-mint mark penny in top condition, glowing like the day it left the mint, is a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. For every genuine rarity, there are millions of ordinary pennies. That's why so many people give up. They search, they find nothing, they move on. But the truth is, the next extraordinary example is still out there. Waiting. Hidden. And if you stop looking, someone else will find it first. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too. Think about the possibilities. A simple coin on your dresser, overlooked for decades, suddenly changing your life forever. Collectors whisper about these stories because they remind us of the thrill, the chase, the dream of turning copper into gold. So before you toss that penny jar into the coin machine, pause. Look again. That one coin you're about to give away might be the rarest treasure you'll ever touch. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it turned into a life-changing discovery worth over $1 million. Imagine tossing a coin into a parking meter, not realizing that single cent was worth more than your house. That's the mystery, the danger, and the magic behind one of the rarest modern Lincoln pennies ever created, the 1990 60 mint mark penny. Most people see a 1996 penny and keep walking. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. A coin you'd never give a second glance. But hidden within just a handful of these coins is a mistake so rare, so shocking, that it turned an everyday Lincoln cent into a treasure worth up to $1.6 million. And the best part? You might already have one sitting in a jar, forgotten. The story begins in Denver, at the U.S. Mint, 1996. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses, and workers thought nothing unusual had happened. But somewhere, deep in that clanging machinery, a mistake slipped through. It wasn't a dramatic error like a missing date or a double-headed coin. It was more subtle, more deceptive. The kind of detail that hides in plain sight. The kind of detail most people never even notice. One collector, years later, came across what looked like just another Lincoln cent. But when he held it under the light, something didn't add up. The coin seemed heavier. The strike sharper. And then the shocking truth came out. This was no ordinary penny. It was a 1990 60 mint mark era coin, one of only a handful ever found. Word spread. Dealers couldn't believe it. A penny from the 1990s, a decade most collectors overlooked, had suddenly exploded onto the scene. Auction houses began whispering about it. Private collectors made offers that seemed unbelievable. And when the hammer finally dropped at auction, the room went silent. That single penny sold for well over $1 million. Why? Because this wasn't just a penny. It was history, frozen in copper and zinc. A freak accident of the minting process. A perfect storm of rarity, condition, and mystery. And here's the part that still shocks collectors today. Most of these $1 million 1990 60 pennies are still out there, hiding in circulation. Think about that for a moment. A coin minted in the millions, a coin you've probably handled dozens of times without even looking closely, could secretly be worth a life-changing fortune. That's why collectors across America are now on high alert. When you're searching for this coin, here's what to look for. First, the mint mark. It must have the small D for Denver. But don't stop there. The most valuable pieces often carry a rare error, a doubled die, a misaligned strike, or even a wrong planchet that slipped through unnoticed. Sometimes the metal composition itself is off, making the coin weigh differently than a normal penny. These tiny clues are what transform an ordinary cent into $1 million marvel. Collectors were shocked when the first verified 1990 60 penny hit the market. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any examples, because once a coin like this disappears into a private collection, it may never resurface again. And here's something unbelievable. One man reportedly found his in pocket change after buying a morning coffee. Just imagine it, a cup of coffee worth $2, and change worth $1 million. But here's the danger. Most people mistake these coins for ordinary cents. They toss them back into circulation. They let them slip through their fingers. And every time that happens, another opportunity for life-changing wealth is lost forever. So here's how to protect yourself from missing out. Always check your 1996 pennies. Hold them under the light. Inspect the mint mark. Weigh them if you can. If something looks off, even slightly, don't ignore it. That could be the detail that separates a common cent from $1 million miracle. Point one collector's pocket change became his ticket to financial freedom. And the same could happen to you. These coins don't announce themselves. They don't sparkle like gold. They blend in, waiting to be discovered by someone with the patience and the knowledge to see what others miss. So the next time you dump out a drawer of change, don't just glance at the dates. Look closer. Inspect carefully. Because hidden among the ordinary, there could be a 1990-60 Lincoln penny worth up to $1.60 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in modern coin collecting history. A simple 1979 penny, no mint mark, that stunned collectors and sold for as much as $1.7 million. Now, before you think this is just another ordinary Lincoln cent, let me stop you. Because what I'm about to tell you is one of those stories that flips everything you thought you knew about pocket change upside down. The year was 1979. Jimmy Carter was in the White House. Gas was just 86 cents a gallon. And the U.S. Mint was cranking out billions of Lincoln pennies. On the surface, they all looked the same, copper coins with Lincoln's profile, no mint mark, and nothing unusual at all. But hidden among those billions, a microscopic mistake slipped through the cracks, and that mistake created one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln pennies in history. Collectors today still argue over how this coin survived. Was it an experimental strike? Was it an accident on the minting press? Or was it a test piece that was never supposed to leave the mint at all? Whatever the case, when it finally surfaced, dealers were speechless. A penny, the kind you and I could drop under the couch and never think twice about, was suddenly commanding the kind of money you'd expect for a sports car, a mansion, or even someone's entire retirement fund. But here's the kicker: most people who saw it didn't even realize what they were holding. It looked so ordinary, so familiar, that it slipped through hands undetected. For years, this coin traveled from register to pocket, from jar to dresser drawer, quietly waiting to be discovered. And when the truth came out, the coin world was electrified. At auction, collectors battled fiercely, the price climbing higher and higher until it crossed into the realm of the unbelievable. 1 penny, no mint mark, fetching up to $1.7 million. Dealers rushed to search their inventories. Everyday Americans began digging through coffee cans and piggy banks. Because if one coin like this could be hiding out there, how many more might be waiting to be found? The answer lies in the tiniest details. Some examples show doubling on the date. Others have sharp, crisp features unlike normal strikes. The absence of the mint mark, combined with certain die errors, makes this coin stand apart from the rest. To the untrained eye, it's just another penny. But to a seasoned collector, it's a golden ticket. You hand over a penny at the gas station without thinking twice. The cashier drops it into the till. But if you had looked closer, if you had paid attention to that small round coin in your hand, you could have been staring at $1.7 million. That's not just money, that's life-changing. And here's the part that still keeps collectors awake at night. These coins are out there. They don't announce themselves. They don't glow or sparkle. They sit quietly in change jars, passed down in family collections, or slipped into old rolls of coins that haven't been touched in decades. Every time someone opens an old drawer or cashes in a jar of coins, the possibility is there. The possibility that the next $1 million miracle will be discovered. One man actually did just that. He wasn't a collector, not really. He simply went through an old jar of coins from his father. And there it was, the 1979 penny with no mint mark, perfectly preserved. He almost didn't bother to check it. But when he finally brought it to a dealer, jaws dropped. That single penny transformed his family's future. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Articles popped up, collectors whispered about it at shows, and suddenly the 1979 penny became a legend. Everyone wanted to know if their coin might be the next $1 million treasure. First, check the date, 1979. Then look closely. No mint mark below the date means it was struck in Philadelphia. But don't stop there. Inspect the coin's surface. Look for sharp details, doubling on the numbers, unusual thickness, or any irregular strike patterns. Those subtle signs separate an ordinary penny from a $1,000,000 miracle. Now, here's a warning. Many people mistake ordinary 1979 pennies for the rare ones, and dealers see it all the time. Condition matters. Uncirculated or near-perfect examples are the ones that bring astronomical prices. So don't assume just any old penny will make you rich. But if you do find the right one, you could be holding one of the most valuable coins of the 20th century. A coin so small, so ordinary, that most people would toss it aside without a thought. Yet for the lucky few who recognize its secrets, it's worth more than $1,000,000. That's why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a hunt. A mystery. A chance at fortune hiding in plain sight. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't overlook those pennies. Look closely. Because this exact penny, the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now. And if it is, it's worth up to $1.7 million. Now picture this. Someone did just that with a 1998 penny, only to later discover it wasn't just a coin. It was a hidden fortune. A single piece of pocket change that ended up being worth nearly $1.8 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. A tiny mistake at the Denver Mint, a quiet misstep in the machinery, gave birth to one of the most shocking and valuable pennies of modern times. Collectors today call it one of the crown jewels of U.S. coinage. Dealers fight for a chance to own one. And yet, most people have no idea it even exists. Why would anyone pay over $1,000,000 for something most of us toss in the couch cushions? That's where the story gets unbelievable. Back in 1998, billions of pennies were struck at the U.S. Mint. To the naked eye, they all looked identical: Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, with the tiny D mint mark showing it was made in Denver. But buried in that massive production run, something went wrong. Some coins were struck with subtle, shocking errors, mistakes so rare that when one surfaces today, the coin world goes into a frenzy. One collector recalls finding a strange-looking 1998 penny in his change from a grocery store. He noticed the lettering looked slightly off, the strike sharper than normal, and the mint mark just a little unusual. At first, he thought it was just worn down. But when experts examined it, they confirmed it wasn't just different. It was historic. And here's the part that stunned the entire coin world. That humble penny, the same size and weight as every other cent in your pocket, was valued at nearly $1.8 million. Think about that. A coin most of us wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk ended up being worth more than most people's homes. The truth lies in the details. Certain 1998 pennies were struck using a special proof die by mistake. These dies were never meant for circulation coins. They give the penny razor-sharp details, deeper mirrors, and a finish that makes the coin shine like no other. Combine that with the tiniest minting irregularities, off-center strikes, doubled features, or die polishing, and suddenly, what should have been worthless copper-plated zinc transforms into a $1,000,000 marvel. But here's the kicker: most people miss it. They see a penny, they see the D, and they move on. Collectors, however, know to look closer. And when they do, fortunes can change overnight. Imagine that moment: a regular man, sitting at his kitchen table, staring at what he thought was just another penny, only to realize he was holding a life-changing discovery. His hands shook. His heart raced. The penny he nearly spent on a gumball suddenly had the power to pay off every debt, buy a dream home, and secure his family's future. And it's not just one story. Auction houses across the country whisper about the handful of these coins that surface every decade. Each time, the bidding wars are ferocious. Collectors from around the world fight for ownership, driving the price higher and higher. When the hammer finally falls, the room goes silent. Another 1998 penny has just written itself into history, another $1,000,000 miracle. First, pull out any 1998 penny with the D mint mark. Hold it under a bright light. Look closely at the details: Lincoln's hair, his jacket, the lettering around the edges. On the rare $1,000,000 versions, everything looks unusually sharp, almost proof-like, with mirror-like surfaces. The strike will feel crisp, with details that leap off the coin. Second, check for doubling, letters that look slightly doubled or thicker than normal. Third, check the overall shine. If it looks like it was struck differently than all your other 1998 pennies, you may be staring at a life-changing discovery. But be warned, many fakes exist. Some people polish their coins to make them look rare. Others try to alter mint marks. That's why if you even suspect you found one, you should have it graded by a professional coin service. They can confirm authenticity, and if it's the real deal, you might just be the next name in coin history. Collectors were shocked when news of these 1998 rarities first broke. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on them. And everyday people, just like you, are now digging through old jars, drawers, and piggy banks in search of one. Because here's the truth, this exact penny could be sitting in your home right now, waiting to be discovered. Think about that for a moment. 1 cent, lost in the shuffle of billions, could rewrite your life story. 1 cent could be the key to freedom from bills, to financial security, to a future most people only dream of. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about history, it's about hope. So the next time you see a 1998 penny, don't let it slip away. Don't toss it in a jar, don't hand it over without looking twice. Because one of those pennies is worth over $1.8 million. And it could be sitting in your drawer, your pocket, or even in the change you get back tomorrow. This is the kind of discovery that changes lives. And it's waiting for someone bold enough to look closely. If you enjoyed this story and you want to learn more secrets about coins hiding in plain sight, make sure you subscribe. Because the next coin I reveal could be the one that makes you a millionaire.